First at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
In your headlines tonight, President directs separate maximum retail prices for local and imported rice. Prime Minister awarded doctorate in Australia. Shashikala convicted, Chief Minister hopes shattered. And Trump security advisor Flynn resigns after leaks suggest he tried to cover up Russia talks. Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Dasaman Prematunga. We start off with a look at the local news. President Maithripala Sirisena today directed officials to declare separate maximum retail prices for local and imported rice. The president made this order during a meeting with rice mill owners at the presidential secretariat today.
Due to increased price of rice on the 8th of this month, the government announced a maximum retail price for rice. However, the public continue to complain that rice is unavailable at government-set prices in most parts of the country.
A kilo of Nadu rice costs more than 100 rupees in some places. There is no point in the government saying anything because there is no reduction in prices. Goods are not available.
Nevertheless, we observed that rice was available at government-set maximum prices in some grocery shops and certain supermarkets. Grocery shop owners and supermarkets, however, claim that they encounter a shortage of supply due to a high demand for rice. In the meantime, some of the retailers claim that the current situation has forced them to close their shops temporarily as they are unable to sell rice at the maximum price.
Rice mills do not send enough stocks after the maximum price was fixed. They say they can't give rice at the maximum price. They send 200 or 300 kilos of rice at the maximum price, but that does not last even 2 days. We are unable to continue the business. We have to close the shops. We incur a loss of 20 rupees per kilo. Red Raw was available at 70 rupees some time back. The Consumer Affairs Authority used to come and take data twice a week, but they waited until the price of rice increased to 100 to set a maximum retail price. We can't continue this.
Meanwhile, addressing the special meeting of rice mill owners today, President Maithripala Sirisena said that tax relaxation on rice imports should be passed down to the people. President Sirisena emphasized that there should be no shortage of rice in the market and that an appropriate mechanism should be implemented promptly to provide rice to the public at subsidized rates. He also directed Industry and Commerce Minister Rishad Baduddin to maintain 100,000 metric tons of rice in government warehouses.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was awarded an honorary doctorate by Australia's Deakin University for his contributions to reforms in economy, education and human rights in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister was conferred the title on the first day of his 4-day state visit to Australia.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is currently in Australia on an invitation from the Government of Australia. The visit also signifies the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. At a graduation ceremony at Deakin University in Geelong today, Premier Wickremesinghe was awarded an honorary doctorate in law. The award recognizes his efforts to help Sri Lanka's transition to a stable democracy.
The Honourable Dr. Ranil Wickremesinghe.
I must thank you for the honour you have conferred on me. You are determined that I am worthy of Deakin honorary degree. You are leaving the Deakin University to enter the University of Life. Start as a follower, always be humble, learn from others, especially their mistakes. And you all should remember that new developments such as the 4th Industrial Revolution, the Internet of Things, new discoveries in medical sciences, electronic money, will bring about even more revolutionary changes. There will be new employment opportunities and investment opportunities rising, especially in Asia and Pacific. In the next 2 decades, there will be over 3 billion people, of whom at least 20% will have incomes equal to that of their Western counterparts. Do not hesitate to capitalize on these opportunities.
Prime Minister Wickremesinghe will head to Canberra today for a reception with his Australian counterpart Malcolm Turnbull to commemorate 70 years of Australia and Sri Lanka diplomatic relations. Several bilateral agreements are to be signed in their presence.
The Higher Education Ministry says the admission of medical students to the South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine in Malabe is suspended for a period of 6 months. Issuing a statement, the ministry said that the suspension will be held until the medical degree program is reviewed.
Deans of 8 state medical faculties held a meeting yesterday with the Minister of Higher Education Lakshman Kiriyalla, State Minister of Higher Education Mohanlal Guerrero, Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education and Chairman of University Grants Commission. Following the discussion, a unanimous decision was reached to make certain proposals to resolve issues related to the private medical college. Thereby, it was decided to propose to the SITEM administration to suspend admission of medical students for 6 months until a periodic review of the medical degree program is conducted by the Ministry of Higher Education. It was also decided to propose that SITEM students who have passed the final MBBS examination must undergo a further period of clinical training, 1 month each in surgery, medicine, gynecology and obstetrics, and pediatrics at a state hospital. At the end of the said period of clinical training, students must pass a licensing examination conducted by the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Meanwhile, during next 6 months, the Ministry of Higher Education, University Grants Commission, Sri Lanka Medical Council and other stakeholders are to develop an operational procedure applicable to non-state medical education. The deans had agreed to discuss the proposal at the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Meanwhile, President of Sri Lanka Medical Council, Professor Carlo Fonseca, said that a meeting will be held on the 17th of this month to make a final decision on the matter.
Now, meanwhile, we contacted a representative of the SITEM administration for their reaction to these decisions.
We have been not informed officially as such about these decisions regarding the discussions that have been going on with the deans and the higher education ministry. Actually, we hope that we can come to an amicable solution while working closely with the higher education ministry and to ensure that we keep the standards of medical education in Sri Lanka. We have to remember that there is also a judgment given by the Court of Appeal. We would request all parties to uphold the law and respect the law. In the meantime, we are also committed towards our students as well as ensuring quality of medical education in Sri Lanka.
Meanwhile, opposition against the SITEM University continues to be expressed.
The Peradeniya and Rajarata universities as well as hospitals continue to express opposition to SITEM by hoisting black flags and banners. Meanwhile, at a media briefing today, the Deputy Director General of Health Services responded to questions raised by journalists.
What is your problem? Is it that black flags are still hoisted? If they are still there, it will be removed, but I cannot go and cut them off. Has anything happened to the country just because black flags are hoisted? How can you say that it is influential? There are so many instances where letters were sent to hospitals asking to remove dogs from their premises. Do you want me to fight with the GMOA?
News from our neighboring country now. India's Supreme Court today convicted Sasikala Natarajan, General Secretary of the Tamil Nadu ruling party AIADMK, shattering her hopes of becoming the next Chief Minister of the state. Now, the Apex Court verdict today uploads the original 2014 conviction, which sentenced Sasikala to 4 years in prison with a fine of 100 million rupees. Now, meanwhile, the Supreme Court abated proceedings of charges against late Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha on account of her death.
It took 8 minutes for the Indian Supreme Court to announce the decision that abruptly cut short political ambitions of Sasikala Natarajan, a long-time companion of late Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha Jayaram. The Supreme Court also ruled out that she cannot hold public office or contest elections for 10 years. This includes her jail term and 6 years after. The 61-year-old was found guilty, along with former Chief Minister Jayalalitha, of collecting a fortune beyond their known sources of income in the 1990s. In 2015, they were both imprisoned for 30 days in Bengaluru after being convicted by a lower court but were later acquitted by the Karnataka High Court. Today, Supreme Court judges revoked the Karnataka High Court ruling in order to restore the Bengaluru court's previous conviction. There were victory celebrations at the Chennai home of interim Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam, who took charge of the state after Jayalalitha's demise in December and later challenged Sasikala's claim to the chief ministerial post. However, at an emergency meeting after the ruling, Sasikala expelled caretaker Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam from the party and appointed E.K. Palanisamy, a minister loyal to her, as the party's new leader. This means Palanisamy will stay claimed to be the next Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, challenging interim Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam.
And we now bring you some reactions to the conviction of Sasikala Natarajan from both local and Indian analysts.
There is a conflict of interest between Pannirselvam and his faction of the AADMK. So there is the usual bargaining, bribery, corruption, factions, personal interests. All this is coming up in this linking up and ranging the supporters of either side. But I have another take on this, and that is the surprising delay of the governor, who is really an instrument of the central government, in his delaying to appoint someone. He has not acted decisively now to appoint a permanent chief minister, partly because of the confusion in numbers, but partly also because I think the national parties like the BJP, the Congress, maybe even the leftist parties, who have been relegated to a very small and minor position in Tamil Nadu, may be also trying to get some benefit out of this confusion.
Basic message is very clear. Unless people support you, you cannot lead a party, you cannot lead a state, a province or a country. That is very clear. People of the state were firmly against Sasikala. He would have lost, if not today, tomorrow. And the other thing is that if you have so much of anger, people have so much of anger against you, there is absolutely no way that you can be a politician. You cannot amass wealth and decide that you are going to take people for a ride. That's exactly what happened in this case. They were never in politics, and as long as you are not in politics, it might work. The moment you come into politics, you have to be very careful about what you do and the kind of flashy things that you throw about, your luxury cars, your luxury mansions and all that. People do not like all these things. You come to serve the people, so serve the people. If you do not want to serve the people, please get out and do other things in life.
The much talked of name of the day, Sasikala Natarajan, became prominent without any roots of a political past and instead found her way into the arena through her close association with the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Jayalalitha Jayaram. The friendship between them is said to be the reason for Sasikala's meteoric rise to power despite her having never held public office. Now, who is Sasikala and how could she have become so powerful? Let's find out.
Sasikala, a high school dropout from Mannargudi who used to make a living selling videotapes, was introduced to Jayalalitha Jayaram in 1982 by her now estranged husband, Natarajan. Sasikala resided in Jayalalitha's official quarters as a close aide and a confidant and received political tutelage for long period. During the time, she was able to place her relatives in several key government positions, expanding her power. In 2011, in a rift between Jayalalitha and Sasikala, she was expelled from the party due to interfering in government administration and with high-level bureaucrats. Jayalalitha reinstated Sasikala after she forwarded a written apology. The General Council of the ruling AIADMK party, following Jayalalitha's death, unanimously appointed Sasikala as the party's General Secretary. Last week, the party said that she would be the next Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, even though Jayalalitha had already named O. Pannirselvam, the current acting Chief Minister, as the eventual successor to the post.
In more local news, the first phase of the estate housing project that will see the construction of 5,000 houses in the estate sector began yesterday under the auspices of the Minister of National Coexistence, Dialogue and Official Languages, Mano Ganeshan. The project, funded by the Government of India and implemented by the Sri Lanka Red Cross, aims to better the lives of estate communities.
During the launch of the project, Minister Mano Ganeshan emphasized on the crucial need for quality living for people in the estate sector. He said that the decision by the governments of Sri Lanka and India to restore the lives of estate workers was timely. The project will last for 2 years and the modality of construction for these houses would be through cash grants in several stages.
இலங்கை எப்படி எங்களுக்கு தாய்நாடோ அதேபோல் இந்தியா எங்கள் தந்தை நாடு. அதான் உண்மை.
The relationship between the governments of India and Sri Lanka is strong. Sri Lanka is our motherland, but at the same time, India is our fatherland. This is the truth. You cannot deny that. When it rains in India and they get wet, we get the cold. That is the truth. The new government now calls our race as Malayalam Tamil. But even if we call it like that, no one can win over the relationship between us and India.
Let me take a short break. Business news coming up. Welcome back. And in your business news tonight, chief executives of stock exchanges in South Asia will come together in Colombo this month to discuss the way forward for exchanges in South Asia. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange will host the executive committee board meeting of the South Asian Federation of Exchanges on the 27th of this month. CEOs of the Bombay Stock Exchange, Pakistan Stock Exchange, Chittagong Stock Exchange, Maldives Stock Exchange, Royal Securities Exchange of Bhutan, Central Depository Bangladesh, Mercantile Exchange of Nepal and the Colombo Bourse will review their operations. The event is expected to strengthen cooperation among exchanges in the region and create opportunity for cross-border investment linkages. Now, in a statement, CSE Chairman Vajira Kulatilaka, who holds the current chairmanship of SAFE, said South Asian exchanges will play a vital role in accelerating economic integration in the region going forward. The stocks were higher after the close today as gains in the services, footwear and textile and power and energy sectors led shares higher. At the close of the Colombo Stock Exchange, all share gained 0.17%. Now, with all the day's trading, here's
all share price index gained 10.21 points to close at 6,148.94. While the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 11.69 points to close at 3,532.93. The turnover was 548.94 million rupees with 20.24 million shares changing hands in 2,621 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,710.84 billion rupees. Top 5 gainers of the day were Blue Diamonds, LPT Plantations, CT Land, Laksapana Batteries and ACSF Finance. While the top 5 losers were Blue Diamonds Non-Boating, SME Leasing, City Housing and Real Estate, Swarnamal Financial Services and Velwala Resorts. Today there were 4 crossings and the crossing turnover was 165.36 million rupees. Today's foreign purchases was 348.15 million rupees and the foreign sales was 289.99 million rupees.
The Sri Lankan rupee firmed today as dollar sales by exporters offset demand for the US currency, although depreciation concerns continued to weigh. Rupee forwards were active with 2-week forwards closing at 151 rupees and 15.25 cents per dollar, firmer from yesterday's close. Now here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies. Coming up is your sports news. Welcome back, and in our sports news we lead with cricket. Now Sri Lanka's blind cricket team returns home after a close fight to enter the finals of the Blind Cricket T20 World Cup. Now the visually impaired cricketers qualified into the final 4 after 7 successful matches in the first round. In the semi-finals, Sri Lanka failed to book a slot in the finals after losing to India by 10 wickets. Sri Lanka's Suranga Sampath was named man of the series in the Blind Cricket T20 Cup World for his 5 centuries. It's big match season, and the big match between Thurston College and Isipatana will be held for 2 consecutive days starting from the 24th of this month. A media briefing on the cricketing encounter was held in Colombo yesterday.
The Thurston Isipatana battle will be held for the 54th time between the two schools. Thurston College has emerged victorious in 5 of 53 matches, while Isipatana won 4 matches.
We have played 13 matches in this season. We have won 2 outrights. We are hoping to give a tight competition and bring the trophy to our school. We have performed well as a team. This time we have played 13 matches including 6 full matches. Charana Nanayakara has surpassed an individual score of 600 runs. Naveen Gunawardana has picked up a total of 56 wickets. We are hoping to give a good challenge at the 54th big match.
Banned cyclist Lance Armstrong has lost his bid to block a $100 million lawsuit by the U.S. government. The suit alleges that Armstrong defrauded the government by cheating while riding for the publicly funded U.S. Postal Service team. It was filed by Armstrong's former teammate Floyd Landis before being joined by the government in 2013.
The 45-year-old Armstrong won 7 Tour de France titles between 1999 and 2005 and was sponsored by the US Postal Service until he failed a doping test that proved he was admitted of using drugs at all of his titles. The cycling star now failed to refuse the complaint of the US Postal Service, which sponsored Armstrong with millions of dollars and is now requesting a compensation of $100 million. The key of the trial is Armstrong's former teammate Floyd Landis, who was declared to use doping and is now acting as a whistleblower against Armstrong, expecting a 1/3 reward in case of a successful trial against Armstrong. In 2015, Armstrong already lost a trial against his former sponsor, SCA Promotions, and had to pay $10 million.
Taking a look at international news now, Kim Jong-nam, the older half-brother of the North Korean leader, was known to be based mostly outside of his home country. Now, police in Malaysia said an unidentified North Korean man had died en route to hospital from Kuala Lumpur airport on Monday. An employee in the emergency ward of Putrajaya Hospital said a deceased Korean there was born in 1970 and surnamed Kim. South Korea's TV a cable television network, said that Kim was poisoned at Kuala Lumpur airport by 2 women believed to be North Korean operatives who were at large, citing multiple South Korean government sources.
Known to be based mostly outside of his home country. Police in Malaysia told Reuters on Tuesday an unidentified...
Well, making international headlines, embattled White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn resigned last night, an abrupt end to a brief tenure. His departure came just after reports surfaced that the Justice Department warned the Trump administration last month that Flynn misled administration officials regarding his communications with the Russian ambassador to the United States and was potentially vulnerable to be blackmailed by the Russians.
As the discussion had happened before President Donald Trump was elected and before Flynn was appointed as the National Security Advisor, the conversation is said to violate the centuries-old Logan Act. This law forbids U.S. citizens acting without official U.S. authority from influencing disputes or controversial involving the U.S. and a foreign government. The sanctions discussed had been placed upon several Russian intelligence entities and personnel by the Obama administration in response to Russia's interference in the US presidential election. It has been unearthed that Flynn had communicated with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak on the same day that the sanctions had been announced. This, however, is not the first time that Flynn has maintained ties with Russia. After losing his position as head of the Defense Intelligence Agency of the US, he had traveled to Russia and had appeared on Russia's state-run propaganda television ARM Russia Today. The retired Lieutenant Jan Joseph Kite Kellogg has been appointed as the new acting National Security Advisor and is far from a newcomer to the Trump team.
Now, India announced it will be creating a defense fund to help boost its internal military development and curb down foreign imports. India is the largest importer of military equipment, takes a majority of its supplies from the Western nations.
The Indian Defence Minister confirmed that the defence public sector and ordnance factories had been given strict targets to increase their outsourcing and vendor development in the country.
To develop innovation and R&D, we are initiating a Defence Innovative Fund with an initial contribution from HAL and BEL. The fund will support innovation and technology development in identified areas and will be open to both Indian and foreign industry. The focus will be on startups to enable a culture of innovation.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has promised to curb down the country's dependence in foreign military purchases under his administration and is now making the first step towards this promise. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute declared India as the country importing the most military equipment from the United States, the UK, France and Russia.
And we take a short break now. Your weather forecast is up next. Welcome back and on to your weather report for tomorrow. A fairly strong gusty winds are expected over the country, up to 40 to 50 kilometers per hour and in surrounding sea areas. Now, several spells of showers can be expected in the northern, north central, eastern, over and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota district. Showers or thunder showers are likely at several places elsewhere, particularly after mid-afternoon. You may also experience strong winds during thunder showers. Now, if you are planning on traveling outside during these times, make sure that you take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity. Let's now take a look at the city-by-city weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for you for tonight. Thank you for joining us here on Adha Derana 24/7. For the latest on local, international, biz, sports and entertainment, do log on to www.adhaderana.lk. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter @Adha Derana. We'll be back again tomorrow at 9 p.m. Until then, good night.